Khamzat Chimaev is finally getting his long-awaited shot at UFC Gold as he prepares to challenge reigning middleweight champion Dricus Duplessis in the main event of UFC 319, a matchup that has been years in the making and one that fans have been clamoring for ever since Chimaev exploded onto the UFC scene with a string of dominant, jaw-dropping performances that made many believe he was destined to become one of the sport's next great superstars. For years, people have talked about Khamzat as the guy who would eventually rise to the top, the fighter whose mix of relentless pressure, elite wrestling, and surprisingly sharp and powerful striking could take over multiple divisions. But setbacks, in the form of injuries, sicknesses, and repeated fight cancellations, slowed down his momentum and delayed his opportunity. Now, finally, that opportunity has arrived, and it comes against one of the most resilient and unconventional champions in the UFC today in Duplessis, a man who has steadily silenced doubters and climbed to the top by defeating elite names like Robert Whittaker, Sean Strickland twice, and Israel Adesanya, all while remaining undefeated inside the UFC. Duplessis' rise to champion status was not without skepticism early on, particularly regarding his cardio, as some questioned whether his unorthodox movement, high output, and aggressive approach could hold up over 5 hard rounds against elite competition. However, those doubts were put to rest in his rematch against Strickland, where he went the full 5 rounds, maintaining a ferocious pace, mixing in wrestling, awkward yet effective striking, and those signature unorthodox kicks that might not look textbook, but land with precision and purpose. His style has been described as odd, even clumsy at times, but the results speak for themselves. He keeps winning, and not just by decision, but often in emphatic fashion. Across from him will be Chimaev, the undefeated phenom who has built his reputation on overwhelming opponents from the opening seconds of the fight, often securing takedowns against even the most defensively sound wrestlers and either pounding them into submission or locking in quick finishes. In his UFC run so far, he has stopped nearly every opponent, with the only exceptions being Gilbert Burns and Kamaru Usman, 2 of the most accomplished fighters in their divisions, while the Burns fight in 2022 was a wild back-and-forth brawl, where Chimaev chose to stand and trade rather than lean on his wrestling, resulting in a hard-fought decision win. The Usman fight was a showcase of his grappling dominance, as he took down the former welterweight king, something extremely few had managed to do, and controlled him despite Usman's world-class takedown defense. Even though that fight was on short notice and at middleweight, the fact that Chimaev could manhandle someone of Usman's caliber was a statement in itself. That being said, Chimaev's activity level in recent years has left many fans frustrated. Once touted as the man who would fight anyone, anywhere, anytime, he has only competed about once a year over the last 4 years, largely due to recurring illnesses, injuries, and a string of canceled bouts, including 3 failed attempts to fight Leon Edwards in 2020 and the original cancellation of his fight with Whittaker. These gaps in activity have fueled concerns about whether his hype train had stalled, especially after less dominant performances like the Usman fight. But his recent dismantling of Whittaker in the first round, capped with a brutal face-crank submission, reignited belief that Chimaev remains every bit the monster he was initially billed as. That victory not only proved he could dominate a former champion at middleweight, but also re-established him as one of the most feared fighters on the roster. This matchup has all the makings of a Fight of the Year contender because of how both men fight. Duplessis thrives on chaos, pushing a pace that drowns opponents, and has shown an ability to absorb punishment, recover, and come back stronger as the fight wears on. Chimaev, on the other hand, is an early round storm, blitzing forward, shooting for takedowns, and swarming his opponent with a level of aggression that can break even elite fighters mentally and physically. The key question here is whether Duplessis can weather that early onslaught without sustaining too much damage, because if he can drag Chimaev into the later rounds, the tide could turn dramatically. Chimaev has never fought in the championship rounds, never gone 5 rounds, and has shown signs of slowing down in high-paced fights, particularly against Burns and Usman. Duplessis, by contrast, has proven he can maintain a relentless pace into rounds 4 and 5, as seen in his stoppage of Adesanya in the 4th round. This could be one of the deciding factors in the fight, especially since Duplessis' gas tank has looked even stronger since undergoing nasal surgery to improve his breathing, a change that has seemingly unlocked a new level in his performances. Stylistically, the fight offers intriguing contrasts. Chimaev's wrestling is arguably the best in the division, and his ability to take down opponents at will has been unmatched so far. Even Usman, who had been taken down only a handful of times in his entire UFC career, could not stop Chimaev from putting him on the mat. However, Du Plessis is not an easy man to control. His awkward rhythm and scrambling ability make him difficult to hold down, and his own wrestling is better than many give him credit for. On the feet, Chimaev has explosive power and speed, but Du Plessis has a knack for landing heavy, unorthodox strikes from angles opponents don't expect. The South African champion also has a granite chin and an ability to fight through adversity, something Chimaev has yet to face for an extended period in his UFC career. Another element to consider is the psychological factor. Du Plessis has headlined multiple pay-per-views, faced enormous pressure against huge names, and come out victorious. This will be Chimaev's first time headlining a UFC pay-per-view, and while he has fought on big stages before, there is a different level of pressure when you are the name on the marquee, the fighter everyone paid to see in the main event. How he handles that could play a role in the outcome. Credit must be given to Du Plessis for not shying away from the toughest challenger available. In an era where some champions seem reluctant to face the most dangerous contenders, Du Plessis actively called for this fight, showing the confidence of a man who believes he can beat anyone. For Chimaev, this is the fight that could finally deliver on years of hype. A win would make him the middleweight champion, open the door to super fights, and silence any critics who have questioned his activity or durability. For Du Plessis, defeating Chimaev would be a massive addition to his already impressive resume, cementing his status as one of the best middleweights in UFC history and solidifying his legacy as a champion who faced and beat the scariest threats in his division. In terms of prediction, the fight seems to boil down to two scenarios. If Chimaev can finish Du Plessis in the first or second round, it would likely be through a combination of relentless wrestling, ground and pound, or a submission after wearing him down early. If the fight goes beyond that, the advantage could swing to Du Plessis, whose proven cardio and ability to thrive in chaos could allow him to take over as Chimaev slows down. Personally, while Chimaev's style is electric and his skill set is incredibly dangerous, the lack of experience in 5-round fights combined with Du Plessis' ability to fight at a breakneck pace for the full 25 minutes makes this a very difficult challenge for him. Still, Chimaev's raw talent, physicality, and ability to overwhelm opponents early make him a live threat to any fighter in the division. This fight is as close to a pick'em as it gets because both have clear and plausible paths to victory. If Chimaev wins, he could be set for a dominant reign unless someone with exceptional defensive wrestling and cardio emerges to challenge him. If Du Plessis wins, he adds another massive name to his list of conquests and further strengthens his claim as one of the greatest middleweight champions the UFC has seen. Either way, the odds of this fight going the distance seem slim, given the way both men fight, and fans can expect a fast-paced, high-intensity battle from start to finish. This is the kind of matchup where every second matters, every exchange could swing momentum, and one mistake could end the night for either man. It's a clash between an unstoppable force in Chimaev and an immovable object in Du Plessis, and when those collide, something has to give.
What's up, guys? Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, like the video, and hit the bell icon to stay updated with all my latest content. More awesome videos coming soon. Stay tuned.